Episode of the Luxury Agent podcast is brought to you by Janson.ai. Founded by luxury agent and AI consultant Rick Janson, Janson.ai equips business owners with AI-powered tools, virtual assistants trained to work smarter, and practical upskilling, all designed to simplify operations, reduce costs, and accelerate growth. But the real goal? To give you your time back, so you can build a business that supports your life, not one that runs it. Stop missing your kids' events. Actually relax on vacation. Pour your energy into what matters most. You, your peace of mind, and your most important relationships. Visit Janson.ai to book your free consultation and explore smarter ways to scale.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. This is Rick Janson with the Luxury Agent Podcast, and I am so thrilled today to have on Jack Cotton from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Jack, welcome.
Hi, Rick. Glad to be here today. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, for those of you who don't know you, can we start with like a 30 to 60 second humble brag? Like, why should people be paying attention today?
Well, I've been doing this for 51 years next month. So I've been a luxury real estate specialist for over half a century. And so I think I know what I'm talking about. I've written several books about it, and happy to teach people what I know, share what I know, and increase their knowledge at the same time. So yeah.
That's fantastic. And I'm 54. So I think you're the first guest I've had on here that's been doing it almost as long as I've been alive. So that's fantastic.
It's kind of scary. Most people say, how long have you been in the business? And I'll typically say, probably longer than you've been alive.
So Jack, the first half we'll talk about how you serve the customer, and on the second half we'll kind of talk to agents.
Sure.
So when we're talking about serving customer, why does somebody pick Jack Cotton?
Well, there's a lot of reasons, but the number one reason is that numerous times per day, countless times per day, I ask myself one question over and over again, and that is, what is in the best interest of the client? And a lot of people talk about putting clients first, and they pay lip service to it. But we actually have done it and continue to do it and always do it. And so many times, for example, we'll go on a listing appointment and we will talk to people out of selling their house. We're like, you know what, you're really not ready to, based on what you've told me, I can sell your house for a great price, but this is not the right time for you to do that. You should enjoy it for a few more years, and then I'll be here, call me back, we'll stay in touch, but maybe in 5 years would be the right time. So we always do what's in their best interest, and treating people like they're part of my family, treating people, like you should treat anyone. And they just keep coming back because they always know that we have their backs, their interests first.
And when you say it's not the right time to sell, are you talking about sort of the trajectory of maybe the home price, or the timing of the market, the timing of the interest rates? Like, why wouldn't it be right for someone to sell?
Well, it's usually because it's not the right time in their life. So for example, I can think of a big example where I went to see some people a few years ago, and, they bought the house from me years before, and it was just becoming too much. It was a summer home, as most homes are here. And it's a pain coming here from Texas they were from. And all the bedrooms are on the second floor, and the stairs were becoming difficult, and it's a lot to take care of and maintain. And so they wanted to sell it. And so the health of the man was failing. And I basically said to them, listen, I'm going to be frank and really brutal with you. If you sell this house, you're going to die. So my advice to you is, let's talk to a builder. Let's add a first floor master bedroom for you. You look at your view. You're looking at green. When you live in Texas, you're looking at concrete all day. You need to see this green against the blue sky. You need to be in this really nice atmosphere with all this land that you have here. You need to be around all your summer friends. And even though you cannot play golf anymore, you can still go to the club for dinner and all that stuff. So that's what they did. They hired a builder. They added on the first floor master, and they get 5 or 6 more years in the house. So I did another one just on Sunday at church. The lady said, I need money. I need to sell my house. I need to talk to her. I said, well, yeah, I can do that. I can help you get top dollar for your house. But let's talk about whether it's the right time for you to do that or not. Maybe there's some other things we could explore to allow you to stay here longer. My belief is that people do better when they stay in their house. we did an article for, I think, the Wall Street Journal a couple of months ago, and they didn't print it. They asked this question about longevity and people living a long time, and what kind of amenities are people adding to their homes. And they're talking about plunge pools and ice cube pools and all this other crazy stuff to help people. And I said, and I got thinking about the question, in my career, I've had a lot of people, a lot of clients, a lot of sellers who are all over 100 years old. I think my oldest client was 104 years old. I've had them 101, 102. I've been several. And the number one common denominator of all my clients who are over 100 years old was their connection to their real estate. And maybe they couldn't dig and plant and weed anymore, but they were out there in the yard. They were directing other people, plant this, trim that. There was a connection to their real estate, a connection to their land. And that's, to me, from having spent time with them and interacted with them, that was the common thread of what helped them live such a long and happy life. And so we had one where this woman was a beautiful woman. Oh my God, see her eyes. And she was this beautiful blue eyes, long gray hair. She was like 80 something years old. She had been in the same summer house since she was like a little girl of 10 years old. It had been her parents' house before, and she wanted to sell it. And I did the same thing. I said, you're just going to go downhill so fast if you sell your house. But she was the one person who said to me, I appreciate that, but I want to sell this house while I am still with my full faculties and in control. So we're going to sell it in spite of your advice. So she was one person who did not take my advice, but I always tell them what I think is the best solution for them, and they may decide differently, but that's my job, is to report honestly what I think is in their best interest, and they can decide to take my advice or not.
I really take that to heart. And you have that stability and that longevity in the profession, where you don't have the commission breath. You don't need any one particular deal. Obviously, any deal is nice money, right? But you're looking at it as a wealth advisor. You're looking at it as a personal consultant. And what would I advise my family to do?
I mean, I don't want to be a hammer who always sees nails everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I'm a hammer, you must be a nail, and I'm going to drive you in or drive you out of your house. So basically, I really look at the whole situation, and I want to make sure, because once you sell your house here, you're going to get a great number, but that bridge is now burned. You're never coming back. You will never be able to get what you have again. And I just want to make sure they understand that. And I'll still be here, hopefully, when it's the right time to sell your house. But it's just an example of, we always put the client first. And, and that the guy who, out of the first floor bedroom, he had 5 or 6 more years in the house. And he probably wouldn't have lasted that long without having done that work.
Yeah, and I look back at my parents. They were in the same house for 40 plus years, and climbing the stairs, from the second floor down to the basement and back up to do laundry or whatever. Like, that kept their legs strong. That kept their joints moving. Going into, like you said, going to the yard gave them purpose, and
exactly.
It gave them that stability once they retired. That it gave them something to do.
Right.
So when
even sometimes people, they actually can't come here anymore, because I say to them or to their family, well, I still wouldn't sell it yet, because they know it's here. And knowing it's here, and that they might be able to get here, that's going to keep them going a little bit longer. And I'll be here when the time is right.
So every once in a while you do sell a house. And I'm just kidding.
Every now and then we do. We sell a few houses every now and then.
So what makes working with Jack Cotton different when you're actually selling a house? What do the go-to-market strategy for Jack Cotton? Like, selling luxury is different. And let's pick a price point, or what your average price point is.
I think my average price is around 3-ish, maybe 2.7 to 3. And so basically, we have a really strong pricing strategy. We don't just pull numbers out of the air. So doing the CMA is very challenging and difficult, because every home is like a Mona Lisa, basically. There's no comps to the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of analytical work. We have a proprietary spreadsheet that I've designed years ago to help adjust comps that aren't totally like the subject, because they're not. There's nothing comparable to the subject, but we have ways of making adjustments similar to what an appraiser would do, but a more real estate agent friendly version of that. And so we really help them with the price. We really help them with market preparation. A lot of people are hung up on staging. We really rarely ever use that word staging. If you look up staging, and I'm not against stagers, but if you look up staging, it's fake, contrived, manipulative, blah, blah, blah. So we do market preparation, which may include bringing in a stager under my control or direction to make the home ready for the market. And so we try to identify who the buyer is for the property. We pretty much know that, depending upon the price point, the location, the amenities, where they live, what's their likely age bracket, what's their likely occupation, and then we go after them. There's two kinds of marketing in real estate. 99% of real estate marketing is passive. You do something and you wait for something else to happen. You do an open house, you wait for people to show up. You buy an ad, you wait for people to see it and call you. You do a website, you wait for people to look at it and call you. We do proactive marketing, where we look at who is the buyer, where is the buyer, what are they doing, what do they like, what are their hot buttons, what do they need, how do we find them, what are we going to do to go get them. And so it's more proactive marketing that we do.
And that proactive marketing, I mean, you're talking about second homes in Cape Cod.
Correct.
Your homeowners, your home buyers could be coming from California, Texas, Montana, Alaska.
Yeah.
I mean,
anywhere.
Who knows, right? So how do you do national marketing and find that needle in the haystack that is like, hey, I'm looking for Cape Cod and not looking for Bangor, Maine, or something?
I know you're dragging all my secrets out of me, but anyway.
Be careful what invitations you accept, Jack.
Whatever, I know. So basically, we know, first of all, that 85 to 87% of the buyers are from Massachusetts, and we know what location they're in. But here's the secret, okay? Luxury home buyers are hiding in plain sight. They're hiding in plain sight. Because here's the thing about wealthy people. What do wealthy people like? Well, they like to be around people like themselves. They like to be around people who have the same level of accomplishments, the same level of wealth, the same level of goals, the same social circles. It is very rare for a wealthy person to parachute into a location like mine with no connection whatsoever. So the best marketing, and I've tested this in more than just my area, the best marketing is going to the people who are already here, because there's probably a 90% chance that the buyer is someone who's a friend, a relative, or associate of the person who's already here. So like I said, maybe that rule goes down to 70% if you go to, say, Florida. But I still think it's pretty high. People don't just parachute into Palm Beach without a connection. They don't parachute into Port Royal in Naples without some of the connection and someone they know. So the easiest, you can market all over the country. Obviously we do, and internationally with websites and all that stuff. But if you're really going after people, go after the people who are already here, because, gosh, like I said, 8.5 times out of 10, the buyer knows someone who's already here, and that's why they're coming here.
That's fantastic insight. And I'm thinking about all the migration that happened from New York to Florida and back and forth, especially during COVID. You brought that up as an example. No one's going to pick Miami or Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach or Naples without knowing someone there already, right? It came up at a cocktail party. It came up in a boardroom. It came up somewhere.
Right. And they may say, I think I'm going to go south. Who do I know who's down there? And where are they? And what do they like about it? And what you just said, you just made 3 great examples: Miami, Naples, and, say, Fort Lauderdale. So who do I know? Where are they? What do they like about it? What don't they like about it? And then who should I talk to?
And I was thinking of someone from Ontario that we know that goes to Port Royal all the time and spends maybe half a year down there. But when he's down there, he sees more clients from Ontario than he does local people. So when he's on vacation, when he's in his warm environment, he wants to be near people that he already knows. He wants to be able to have dinner in Mexico with people he knows from Canada.
Well, and even if he doesn't know them, he wants to be around people who have achieved the same level of success he has and has the same drive and need to succeed that he has. The birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah. Perfect. So now let's talk to the agent who's saying, I want to do luxury. I'm sitting at 500,000. I'm sitting at 800,000. I'm trying to crack into that next level.
Sure.
What's the I can't afford I'm getting into the head of the agent, right? I can't afford to go to the country club. I can't afford a $300 a plate dinner for a black tie every Friday. I need to be around wealthy people to make the connections so that people know me as the expert. How do they get to that next level? What's that transition?
The answer was in your question. So you must be seen as an expert. Critical. There's 5 critical areas of expertise. So when I started out, I was 21 years old, and grew up on the other side of the town. I had a 1967 lime green Ford Maverick with a black racing stripe down the hood and a 3-speed standard shift on the column and a dent in the back. From the insurance money from that dent is what started my business. And so I didn't belong to the clubs. I didn't have any of that connection. And I think it was, once again, something guided me towards the fact that, Jack, you look like you're 21, you look like you're 14. And people who look like I look now are never going to hire you because you're a dumb kid. What are you going to do? And something guided me towards the fact that I needed to be seen as an expert. You need to be seen as an expert in markets and value, really know your market. You need to be an expert in pricing. You need to be an expert in market preparation, marketing, and negotiation. Those are the 5 critical areas. The most important one of them all is pricing. People are obsessed with value in the high end. You can break into your luxury market if you can be seen as an expert in those 5 critical areas. Most emphasis on pricing, but secondary on markets and value, and where does this specific property fit in. People are obsessed with the value of the property for the one major reason is that they hate 2 kinds of taxes: property taxes and inheritance taxes. And so when you have a $5 million house and you die, and depending upon your estate, you could owe $2.5 million in inheritance tax, theoretically. So you do strategies to avoid inheritance tax. Those strategies, which I'm not going to get into and I don't really get involved with, but the one common denominator of all these strategies, they need yearly market updates. And as an agent, you can provide those. You can be marketing to accountants, CPAs, financial planners, family office people, financial planners, retirement experts. You can be marketing your pricing expertise to them and your ability to do market valuations for estate planning purposes. The second kind of taxes people detest in the high end are property taxes. We have our taxes. People say our taxes are really ridiculous. High, but coming from New Jersey or New York, they're not that bad. But some of my homes here, though, people are paying $90,000, $100,000, $150,000 a year in property taxes for a home they use 2 months a year. And so they want to minimize that. So what they need to do that is, again, a detailed, documented market analysis that they can bring to the assessor on the 30 days in January they have to contest their assessment. And so we did a ton of that. So if you want to break in, you want to be seen as an expert, I was a very young kid. And I wish I could say it was a carefully crafted and executed plan, but it just was sort of blind. I was blind and I just was led to that expertise thing. And I had to compete with people who look like I look now. And back then, nobody even did a CMA. I took all these appraisal classes and I would do a 25-page narrative appraisal for people when they're thinking of selling their house. And the value of that really spread around, and the expertise that it took to create that really got around. Today, there's so many ways to do CMAs that are so quick and easy for agents to do, but people don't think to market themselves to accountants, financial planners, trust officers, all that, who are the gatekeepers of the wealthy people in your market area. So if you can be providing a service to the gatekeepers and make them look good in front of their clients can become your clients.
And there's a little, to wrap up here, there's that little dichotomy though, because like for tax purposes, you're trying to get that value low.
Right.
And then when they want to go sell, they're like, well, it's aspirationally high. So Jack, you told me my house is worth $2 million, but I want to sell, and my tax bill is going to be 2.5, but I really want to sell it for 3. How do you like approach that to them? Like, hey, I can value it 2 different ways for you.
Well, but you can. But first, number one is we don't lie. So, there were times in I lost a listing one time where I think it was like, I don't know, 7 or 8 or 9 million. I forgot the price. But he wanted me to do an abatement. He wanted me to lower his taxes, by saying his house was worth less than it was worth. We don't do that, right? We don't lie, because if I lie about your house to get your taxes lowered, it's going to lessen my credibility for someone else who might be a neighbor who has a legitimate claim for a lower assessment. So basically, fair market value is always a range. So when I'm selling your house, I'm out to get you the high end of that range. When we're assessing it for helping you get your taxes lowered, it's called lowest defensible. It has to be defendable, because a lot of times when we're selling a house, we're breaking a new record. So we have to try to think about, what's the next precedent we can maybe achieve with the sales price of this house. Okay, and so we start with a baseline, and we say, well, we think because of the unique conditions you have here, your exposure, the water depth, the kind of a dock you have, the kind of a boat you could accommodate here, we think we can go here, but we'll know within 30 to 45 days if that's the case or not. So yeah, when we're selling, it's a range. We're going for the high end of the range where we're doing estate tax work or, property tax valuation work. We're going for the low end of the range. Totally legitimate.
I love that. And that nuance is so key. And I love that you brought that out. Jack, thank you so much. I think your integrity and your experience shine through even in this 15 minutes together. If people want to get a hold of you and they're like, hey, I'm looking for a second house in Cape Cod, or I know somebody who wants to move there, how do they reach you?
JackCotton.com.
That's simple. All right. Thank you,
Keep it
Jack.
simple.
Thank you so much, Jack. I appreciate your time here today.
See you around.
This episode of the Luxury Agent Podcast is brought to you by Janson.ai. Founded by luxury agent and AI consultant Rick Janson, Janson.ai equips business owners with AI-powered tools, virtual assistants trained to work smarter, and practical upskilling, all designed to simplify operations, reduce costs, and accelerate growth. But the real goal? To give you your time back, so you can build a business that supports your life, not one that runs it. Stop missing your kids' events. Actually relax on vacation. Pour your energy into what matters most. You, your peace of mind, and your most important relationships. Visit Janson.ai to book your free consultation and explore smarter ways to scale.